Huge result for Southampton in their bid to survive in the Premier League, even though they are still bottom. Every point counts considering how tight it is. For Spurs, they had a chance to actually leapfrog Manchester United into third as they look for Champions League football. Plus, Newcastle won yesterday as well, let's not forget. Here's the best part, the quotes. Some of the quotes coming out of the press conference from Antonio Conte. We don't have time to show you the entire thing, but I'll read this out to you. They're used to it here. Don't play for something important. They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. Tottenham's story is this. 20 years there's the owner and they never won something. Why? Question mark. And bearing in mind, the international break is just about to start. It's often seen as a chance for a manager to leave a club, for a club and a manager to part ways. Danny, what do you make of this? Conte, surely he doesn't want to stay there, does he? Based on his reaction there.
No, I think he's... obviously, we all know how emotional he is, which is great. We love to see a manager's emotions through victory and through losses. But yeah, he's obviously gone directly at the players, which, you know, being 3-1 up, if you think you're a big club, you want to be challenging for things. You should be holding on to a 3-1 lead against a team at the bottom of the table. So, okay, you can maybe say you should challenge the players in the dressing room, which is fair enough. But, you know, he's gone at the players, he's gone at the club, at the hierarchy, which is, I think it's dangerous territory. And, yeah, outside looking in, it does look like a perfect time if, you know, a club was going to change a manager. You get a new one in who can work with the players who are not gone away on international break now for 2 weeks and, you know, focus on, you know, trying to finish in the top four for the remainder of the season. But, yeah, that was a pretty, direct interview from Conte.
Yeah, he was fuming. He seemed fired up. Mark?
I thought it was a little bit, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Spurs have won the League Cup in the last 20 years and also made, obviously, a Champions League final, right? So they know a bit about pressure. I mean, any player that knows, and Daniel will vouch for it as well, there's pressure every time you step out on that pitch, and let alone, you know, they've played Champions League football for year after year, and that takes something as well. Okay, winning trophies, and that's what Spurs have obviously been mocked about by a lot of people over the years. That they haven't won enough. They've been in positions where they could have and they should have or could have and haven't. But it's a manager for me that he talked also in that interview. I saw the interview and it said he also said that they've regressed from last season. So that where does the blame lie with that? I thought in the summer Conte had brought in some players of his own as well. He had a big say in players that came. I also agree. Spurs are definitely not playing anywhere near as well as they did last season. You know, yes, there's a responsibility of the players, but there's also a responsibility of the manager. And I think it's a clear point of being frustrated. He's out of contract. Sounds like either he's made his mind up, he's going, or if the club really want to keep hold of him, he wants more control. I don't think Spurs are going to give him that.
You bring up the Champions League final, Danny. You started and played in that Champions League final in 2019. I mean, what was it like? How different would it have been if you had won that match? I mean, it would have been a trophy, and what a trophy to have, the Champions League.
Yeah, of course it would have been great, you know, winning the trophy. But I don't think in terms of what Conte's frustrations are at the moment, in terms of, you know, what happens behind the scenes, I don't think much would have changed if we had won that trophy in terms of, you know, Conte, you know, I think it's no secret that he likes a lot of funds and the proof is in the pudding. When he gets that, he wins things. So had Spurs won that trophy and they had have sacked Pochettino after, you know, time after that, Tottenham's philosophy upstairs would not have changed a great deal, in my opinion.
Do you think some of these managers they've appointed since Pochettino left have suited what Spurs fans want and demand, and maybe some of those players would prefer? Because you look at Mourinho, he's got a reputation for being a bit defensive. Mark's played under him. Antonio Conte, we can see what he likes to play right now at this point in time. Nuno was there as well, let's not forget. Do you think someone else, more, maybe Pochettino to return, Danny?
I think ultimately, I'm not trying to be biased, but ultimately the club made a mistake in getting rid of Pochettino. I know it's easy to say that now, 3 managers after him, and you're in a no better position than what you were, when you sacked him. But they should never have sacked him at the time. A coach manager who can get you to a final, can get you in the top four consistently, not spending a huge amount. You have to respect and you have to respect that so much. And now I think Tottenham, maybe they won't admit it, but surely they'll come to realise that they made a mistake. But in terms of the appointments after that, if you're looking straight away, you see Jose Mourinho coming in. As a fan, you'd quickly probably forget about Poch, and you think, okay, Mourinho's coming in. For sure, we're going to maybe win something. Okay, he goes. I don't know how the fans truly felt about Nuno, but then when you see Conte coming in, again, you're thinking he's won everywhere, no matter what. And, okay, I don't know for sure what Conte is complaining about, but I know for a fact, I was at Tottenham for 15 years, and all the transfer windows, business was done towards the end of the window. And I know that this summer transfer window just gone, all the business was done at the beginning or in the middle. All the players that Conte wanted were on that plane going to the pre-season tour, and that was a rarity under my time at Spurs. So I know for a fact he definitely did have some say in terms of the transfers, at the start of the season.
Mark?
Look, I look at it and think that, when you look at Jose Mourinho, for example, they sack him 6 days before a cup final. He's a serial winner. He knows how to win finals. I mean, for me, that was, and you saw how then Spurs went on to perform in that final, nowhere near the capabilities that they had. I thought it was absolutely crazy. I mean, there's mistakes being made. The question is about Pochettino when they say, look, I'm a big fan of Pochettino. I thought he was amazing at Spurs, and I thought what the football they played was brilliant. The way that players have come through at the club was exceptional. I loved watching Spurs play. But there was a combination, I think, of possibly evolution. Maybe that there wasn't a turnover of players enough, or bringing through of a newer generation of players. Pochettino, I thought that towards the end of it, the team did drop off a bit. And obviously they wanted to maintain that level of consistency, that level of performances, like being in the Champions League, trying to contest to win the Champions League. And that was probably a little bit too far ahead in terms of thought and belief at the club at that point to go year after year and compete at that level. But I think that the appointment since then, I mean, Nuno, I don't think was a good appointment, full stop, and it turned out not to be a good one. Conte, we all know, like Danny was saying, that he's a winner. He's won everywhere, but he's won when he's brought in a lot of players. They've bought players. He's not someone who develops players. He's not someone who brings through young players necessarily. And I think that kind of goes against what Spurs want to do. Jed Spencer's a great example. They signed one of the most talented, exciting young, right wing backs. And then when he signed, and I remember Conte saying that it was a club decision. I didn't sign him. I mean, the kid hardly played a game, and he's now out on loan. So it shows you that he's not really someone who wants to bring through young players. He just wants to deal with older players. And I don't think that fits Spurs either.
Okay, final question. We have to keep it quite brief. Will Conte be in charge after the international break? And who's going to be the next manager of Spurs? Danny first.
After that interview, I don't see how it's possible that he can be the manager after the break. I think the club have to sort of set a stance out, that a manager can't criticise a hierarchy in public like that. And so, to answer your question, I don't think he will be. And the next manager, I think, will be an interim till the end. And then after that, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I don't know if they're going back and getting Poch is admitting that they was wrong. I'm not sure if the club will admit that they was wrong in sacking him. But for me, I would love him to go back. So, yeah, I'd say Poch.
Okay. Well, if it's interim, you expect it would be Ryan Mason again. He's still so young. I mean, he's a year younger than Danny is. Mark, what about yourself? I mean, Pochettino's name has been linked. Oliver Glasner, the Eintracht Frankfurt manager, you probably know more about him than I do. Thomas Tuchel's name has been linked. What do you think? Will Conte be in charge, and who's the next manager?
I don't think Conte will be in charge. I agree with Danny. I think it's almost at a point where, I think personally, it's at a point of no return. I don't think you can say that and get away with it. And I think I actually got a sneaky feeling Thomas Tuchel could be the next manager, and I think he'd be a good appointment as well.